I wonder if it let me.
I'm sure it will. Are you on right now?
I was like, it's you first, and then Willie and I go.
All right, that's actually not a terrible angle.
You could
just
put that in
it's,
like
I
the
want
conference slides.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should I send them to you, or you just want me to put them all in so you can choose?
Just send a couple to me, I guess.
Sure. Okay, I have to go pull my notes.
Is that I want the table a little bit over this way because we obviously don't want people standing in front of there. Or do you guys feel okay about where the table is? I mean, I'm fine with it if you guys are okay with it. Does that seem?
We also have some more space on the side. Kind of make some more space on the side so
Oh
we
yeah,
don't
with
stand
all
here
the
too.
chairs right
No, I
there.
plan to stand here. So
You plan to stand there? Okay, good. You're on camera, so that's fine. I think we're good if people are not further away than that.
I'm gonna
We're-
turn a little
I
bit
think
so I
we're
can
good.
stand here reasonably.
And
Am I on camera?
yeah, you are on camera. You're good.
Hold on camera.
Yeah, you guys are both you're both good. Maybe I'll show towards you. Yes. This way.
With a camera controller?
Yeah.
Well, it's a camera controller. I'm tapping. The weird thing is when I look at the camera, it's like everything's backwards, but
Backwards.
that's just the way it works. It kind of
Okay, I have a question.
works in my brain, but
Is there a doc for us to take notes in?
yes, everyone should have received a doc to take notes on. If you look at your email,
Now I see it.
Sadie,
Sorry.
the link is the same as it always is, but because I realize people are confused by my web of complexity in Google Docs, I straight up sent you a link.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Never find anything, not because of that complexity, but because I have 1,000 windows open at the same time, which is just confusing. I just want to say I've kind of like participated in some group activities, several group activities, and sort of indirectly observed some group activities. I sort of indirectly observed the orb testing the other day. And I like what I'm seeing. So it's good stuff. You guys should feel good about what you're up to.
Jade, I think they're also all in our shared drive folder.
All right, are we all set and ready to roll here? All right, I guess I need to do this first one, and I need to advance it. I think what I'm gonna try to do is set a timer for everyone, and I don't want to freak you out, but and I won't do this when we're in Good Morning Oberlin, but just so you guys have a sense, I'm not going to cut anyone off today, but I'm going to hold this up at 1 minute. I've got all the times here. I've got 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but I'm only going to do 1 minute. Because I think you need to know timing wise, because we really are going to have to hold people. Oh, there's Taylor Swift. We need to hold ourselves to no more than 5 minutes a person. I think we got a very clear signal about that one. So I may find a way to even shorten what I'm going to say. And I'm totally unpracticed right now. So it is a real pleasure to be in front of Good Morning Oberlin. We always appreciate talking before this audience. And we're so excited to share the work that students are doing on the Environmental Dashboard Project. Just to refresh people's memory very quickly, this is a software this is a project that is designed to connect community members. And so we're going to hear some exciting presentations from groups talking about the ways in which they're using the technology, using their projects, using their communication skills to foster connection between Oberlin community members. We're going to go into the details. I'll say there are several different components of dashboard. The different groups are focused on different components of these. I won't say more about that. We've got a variety of different venues in which this information is presented in both Oberlin and Cleveland. And without further ado, it is such a pleasure to be introducing the stars of the show today to the students in the environmental communication class that I have the pleasure of introducing you to today. And without further ado, we will have our first group come up here, which is Hannah and Lily, who are going to tell you about some of the amazing work that they're doing, connecting Oberlin students with the larger community and promoting.
Thank you, Professor. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Lily Dodson.
I'm Hannah Van.
And our project focuses on creating new community voices content for the environmental dashboard. So as Dr. Peterson just referenced, the environmental dashboard features screens around Oberlin, which are the environmental dashboard screens. And a component of the environmental dashboard is community voices, which is a photo and a quote next to the photo that highlights positive community engagement, community connection, resilience. Next slide, please. So here's an example of a slide that we have already developed through our project. So the goal of this content, like I just mentioned, is to highlight and empower community connection, encourage people to engage positively with their community, and just with the overall theme of resilience, sustainability, community connection. We are making specific content about students who volunteer or work in the Oberlin community, or community members who hire student employees or run organizations that allow students to volunteer for them. And our project has presented us with some specific unique challenges and opportunities, which I will now pass it off to Hannah to talk about.
Yeah, so our first challenge is investigating the connection between Oberlin College and the Oberlin community. So this connection can seem a little distant at times, like these two places are separate entities, although we're within the same city. So this is the first challenge we're trying to address, just get this community more connected. And then there's also a challenge of people not knowing within the college the opportunities that they have to volunteer and or work within the community. So we're hoping to spread awareness of these opportunities for students who do not already know this. And then finally, this opportunity was presented to us through the Oberlin Office of Communications. They specifically requested that more content be added to the environmental dashboard that centered around students. So that's what we're doing with this project.
So some approaches that we are taking in achieving the goals of this project have been to reach out to people that we know, either people who work for organizations that we volunteer for, friends of ours who we know volunteer in the community, and setting up interviews with them. We've also made a post in the Oberlin College Campus Digest asking for interested interviewees, just saying hey, do you volunteer in the community and do you want a chance to share about this work and why it's important to you? And through that, we've also gotten a lot of people that we're going to interview. We've also just been getting recommendations from friends and community members, and through this forum on the Campus Digest about other people that we may not know of who also do amazing work in the community. And then through all these connections that we've made with different people, we've been setting up interviews with them, and with a list of interview questions that we've made and some other resources, we've sat down with them and done quick little interviews. And we've already done 5 of those just in the last week.
Yeah, so one of our desired outcomes for this project is to highlight the existing connections between the Oberlin College community and the overall city, just so people know how connected we are, and so they feel that more of good connection and they're more willing to reach out to the community and work within the community. And then another outcome is to just make students more aware of these organizations, and hopefully with these organizations, seeing how many students are already participating, and hopefully with further interest, they may allow more students to volunteer and work with them, and then just more Oberlin College students reaching out and trying to work with them. And then finally, one of our desired outcomes is to develop at least 10 slides for the environmental dashboard of student voices and community member voices.
Thank you so much. Now we'd like to invite up Luke and Sadie, who are also doing an amazing project in the Oberlin community.
Hi everyone, I'm Sadie Howard,
And I'm Luke Muller.
and our project is teaching a 7th grade science, technology, engineering, and math class, our art and math class, or STEAM class at Langston Middle School about the environmental dashboard. We did so by adapting the resource signatures use assignment our class was previously given into an engaging and age-appropriate lesson plan. This assignment introduces students to collecting data on resource consumption, identifying patterns, and drawing conclusions based on those patterns that they identified. And then using those conclusions to develop resource conservation solutions. Sustainability education is a very important but often overlooked part of American curricula. And by implementing this lesson in Langston Middle School, we aim to change that. And we hope that this lesson that we implement will also help the teachers and the students of Langston Middle School become more sustainable and implement more sustainable practices in their daily lives. And we hope that the following presentation is both informative and enlightening.
So for the opportunities and challenges with this project, what this project really provides a valuable opportunity to do is to increase interest in STEAM learning among Langston students. And then via that, equip them with the skills and motivation to be leaders in resource use conservation. So with the environmental dashboard, there is real-time meter data on resource use in buildings that is represented visually, which you can see 2 examples here. By learning to interpret this data, students become proficient in finding patterns in resource consumption. And then understanding those patterns is key to designing actual plans for how to conserve resources. Furthermore, without this data, there's a key challenge of sustainability in the United States that's hard to overcome. Buildings in the US are designed to really have energy and water available at the push of a button without much indication of where those resources came from. In order to create a more sustainable society in regards to resource consumption, we need to increase the overall awareness of what it is that we consume. And this lesson plan is designed to give students the tools to do just that. When we were designing our lesson plan, we had to consider a lot of different things. We needed to adapt our content and presentation to fit into the structure of a middle school classroom. We had to account for various levels of familiarity with both the environmental dashboard and the skills needed to interpret data. And we needed to design hands-on activities that to make self-guided exploration of resource data something that students got more excited about.
So one of our main desired outcomes for this lesson plan is for it to become a permanent part of Langston's curriculum. We won't be around every year to teach this lesson, so we want Langston teachers to have the resources and confidence to be able to integrate it into their future classes. Similarly, we hope for our adapted resource use signatures assignment to be improved upon. Ideally, the feedback that we gather on the last day we go into the middle school will then be given to the dashboard team, and it will be valuable enough for them to make improvements so they can do better next year. We also want students to have a heightened awareness of resource flows and how they function, so that they will be motivated to adopt more sustainable practices. And then finally, we want students to be comfortable with using the environmental dashboard and stay engaged with the technology for the remainder of their time in Oberlin Public Schools.
Our project partner for this was Donna Parrish, who allowed us to go into her classroom and teach part of her climate change unit. We initially sat in on a class that Parrish teaches to observe how our students learn and what engages their interest. And then we used this background information to tailor the content, language, and ordering of the resource use signatures assignment. Then we designed handouts and slides to guide students through our topics and taught the revised lesson plan for it to be over a 2-day period. Our lesson plan introduced how data monitoring helps conserve resources moving through buildings. Students did a variety of activities, including testing how much energy appliances use, graphing daily water and energy use in the schools, and exploring data on the environmental dashboard. Our final steps for this project are to revisit Langston to gather feedback from Donna and her class and pass this on to the environmental dashboard team. We will then revise a step-by-step outline of this lesson plan to give as a resource for Langston teachers to use as they see fit. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed our presentation and enjoy the next one as well.
We're introducing the next one, but yes.
Right, so we got confused.
That's fine,
order.
that's fine.
I'm good.
Yes,
I was thinking like right here. The last bullet point.
Hi, I'm Sammy Aponovich,
And I'm Jane Chivo.
and we chose to work on our project that we're going to be telling you about because we are excited to help promote sustainability on campus. Our project involves a prototype digital display meant to explain sustainable infrastructure initiatives and tips to the whole Oberlin College community. This display looks like this, and this, and this. As the final product, the display won't be on a TV screen on a table like it is here. It will be mounted on the wall at popular locations around campus, possibly in the Adam Joseph Lewis Center of Environmental Studies, in the Science Center, or in the admissions office. So what are these two things beside our display? Well, we have two different ways that a viewer can interact with and control the display. We have a physical controller in the form of a touchscreen iPad. Viewers can select any of our topics by hand: heating and cooling, energy, water, climate, transportation, and food and land, to learn about these concepts concerning the college in the form of a short, simple story. Alternatively, viewers can scan the QR code on our poster and pull up the controller on their phone. Here's the title slide of our first chapter in the heating and cooling story. In the following slide, in these examples, you can see some of our narrative content, the text, the story. We also have an example of our technical data on resource consumption translated into a more simple form in the form of our real-time data displays, as well as some animations, which are also main components of our display. The main idea of these three components is to communicate in a way that our whole campus community can easily understand, both those with technical backgrounds and non-technical backgrounds. Our main job lies in collecting feedback on what we have developed for the display so far, which means seeing what students, faculty, parents, visitors, and alum all think about the prototype. Just as taking a temperature read on your customers or your community is important in business and nonprofit work, taking a temperature read of our community is so important in furthering our goals. We want to engage, educate, motivate, and empower the viewer. So what we aim to find out this semester is how do we as a campus community need our display to be more clear, engaging, and helpful so that we can ultimately maximize message transfer and engagement.
So like Sammy was just saying, our main goal for this project is to have an extensive list of our observations and suggestions regarding the current prototype for the display. And this is going to be based off of evidence that we've gotten from our user testing activities.
And we will also provide suggestions for the dashboard team when they are communicating with the communications department in the future regarding why we think that this display is viable and should be installed around campus. If we want to be able to advocate for this display to be installed on campus, we will need to be able to back that up with evidence that we've gathered from user testing. Next one. Yeah, so our approach for the project is that we've given presentations on this display to several audiences, including alumni at homecoming and the Oberlin College admissions office. And the admissions office is actually our most important audience right now because they're going to be really central in promoting the display to our visitors as a way to show off Oberlin's accomplishments on their environmental goals. And by doing that presentation, we've also gotten in touch with a group of student tour guides who we think are going to be a really good audience for providing feedback. And just this past weekend, we did a similar yet different activity with parents during Parents Weekend. And the difference with this one was that it was more open-ended. We let the participants interact more freely with the display. And we used a couple of surveys so that when they came in, they would answer some questions about their familiarity with environmental initiatives at the college, and then on their way out, they would write down what they learned from the display. So when we're analyzing this data, we'll be able to see the difference between before and after the display to really see what they're getting out of it. So overall, we've been talking to so many diverse groups of people about how they think we can make this media display as accessible and easily understandable as possible. And we've been listening to their visions for what this dashboard could do to improve the college community. So thank you. And the next group to present is also going to be developing a way to display the sustainable infrastructure program as well as other sustainability initiatives.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Josette.
And I'm Nev.
And our project is redeveloping the Oberlin's College's Science Center display case to feature objects associated with resource metering and conservation in residential buildings, as well as interactive content on digital signage. So our project is in close collaboration with Oberlin College's Office of Energy and Sustainability, as well as Evergreen Energy, who is an essential partner to Oberlin's Sustainable Infrastructure projects.
So Oberlin College is a leader in environmental sustainability and education. We have multiple on-campus initiatives such as the environmental dashboard, the sustainable infrastructure program, and environmental orbs that allow students to engage with different initiatives on campus. The environmental dashboard team, along with the Office of Energy and Sustainability, maintains a sustainability-focused display case at the entrance of Oberlin College's Science Center, which was pictured in the first slide. This location is great for tours because it's it's a natural stop on tours of the campus, but it has not undergone an update in several years. So we have the opportunity to redevelop this case to feature relevant information and artifacts about Oberlin College's commitment to carbon neutrality. We want to make this content essentially more interactive and relevant to current sustainability initiatives. Currently, there is too much text and information in the case, and we want to really streamline that information by using imagery and artifacts as well as the environmental dashboard to really engage with people. We hope to contribute to campus-wide knowledge about Oberlin's sustainability goals, build an understanding of why sustainable infrastructure is important, and inform students on what they can do to contribute to sustainability and resource consumption.
All right, so as far as our desired outcomes go, one of the main goals in redesigning the display case is to get students engaged with the SIP artifacts and the digital signage which is displayed in the case. We want to provide information about the college's geothermal and district heating systems, environmental orbs, environmental dashboard, as well as resource conservation opportunities displayed in the case. We also hope to eventually see an increase in student understanding of campus-wide sustainability initiatives. We will not necessarily see this right away. But we hope that through continual engagement with the display case, students will become more conscious of these initiatives, and this will eventually lead to a decrease in campus-wide resource use. And finally, our goal this semester is that the end result of our project is a vast improvement in the display case to be more visually appealing, engaging, and informative.
As we've said, we want to highlight information about steps Oberlin has taken and is currently taking towards carbon neutrality. We will combine digital signage in the case with physical SIP objects like pieces of piping and insulation in the geothermal systems. We will also include metering technology that will showcase different appliances and their energy use. Incorporating resource use orbs is also another way we can engage students with data visualizations of their resource use. We will clearly explain the spectrum of these resource use orbs on a poster. As I said before, we want to really cut down on the text and information in the case and focus on the images and objects themselves. We also want to direct people's attention to the environmental dashboard in the case. So in each different section of the display case, we'll have a QR code that will direct people to the environmental dashboard if they want to learn more information about something specific in the case. In further exploration, we also plan to incorporate a QR code at the side of the case to collect feedback about people's engagement with the display. Now, we are still largely in the planning and design stage of this display case, but if you click to the next slide, you can see kind of a visualization of what we think this case might look like. Over here, we kind of have the resource metering section. We have the environmental dashboard in the middle, the orb, and on the other side, we have SIP artifacts and potentially solar energy. We have also designed some posters to be on the background of this display. So these are kind of what we have in the stage right now. So through redeveloping the display case, we hope to give students, staff, and campus visitors a variety of means to engage with the Sustainable Infrastructure Program and environmental dashboard content. Through these approaches, we hope that this display case can contribute to a constructive dialogue about sustainability efforts on Oberlin's campus. Now we'll pass it off to the next group. That's Millie and Max.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jasmili,
And Max.
and we'll be presenting on user testing and promotion of orbs that display relative resource use consumption. Oberlin College is the only college to have an environmental orb. And what is an environmental orb, you may ask? It is a sphere that displays different glowing colors that indicate the amount of electricity and water that is being used in the building where they're located. In a world where our environment is constantly under threat, the environmental orbs provide subliminal delivery of information that can result in significant response of decreasing resource use. These orbs intend to incentivize conservation action and encourage awareness of the invisible resource flows and support the lives of Oberlin College students and residents. To accomplish this task, each orb receives minute-by-minute data sent from metering tech in the buildings. The orbs then compare current resource use to last week's average use, displaying the disparity between the two on a 5-point scale.
Cool. So the orbs were initially created by Oberlin faculty and staff in 2007. Since then, the technology has become outdated. So we have the opportunity to update the technology, but also to upgrade the orb's comprehensibility for students. And so we've already actually taken that step of upgrading the comprehensibility by editing the water scale, and we've also changed a few things since the orb's last iteration. So how the orbs work now is that an orb will display a resource color. So example is like energy. It'll display yellow and energy. But before it displays that, it'll go through the whole series of energy. So it'll go from red all the way to yellow and all the way to green. Then it'll land on yellow, situating that yellow color in the context of all the others. It'll also do the same afterwards when it displays the water resource level. It'll go through the whole spectrum from pink to blue and then all the way to light blue. And then it'll land on the one that is accurate for the moment. And so with all these changes we've made to how the orb works, we need to understand if the students can comprehend what the orbs are communicating. And so we've started user testing to determine this.
So for user testing, the first task we finished actually, is gathering a group of students to participate in our project and creating a schedule to run our finalized experiment. And we decided to run our experiment in 3 separate sections to complete the goal. The first part of the experiment students will be given a survey at the beginning that they will fill out, and it will basically be rendering their mood and how often they think about energy and water use, etc., before interacting with the orb. Then we'll be asking if they understand the orb colors. And this part of the experiment will focus on whether they understand the status of a building based on the color of an orb. And we will ask students to use the poster in order to assist them. And students will be shown a series of color and then for electricity and water, and then it will land on the color on a 5-point scale. And we would ask participants what resource this color represents. The next part of the experiment will be if students will seek out more information, and we'll be doing this by basically asking participants to interact with the orb and play around with it and erase their thoughts using the poster again as a guide. And at the end, we will check if they will scan the QR code without our instruction. And the last part of the experiment is how does the orb impact resource use? Students will be given a survey from the beginning with additional questions, and they will be asked to fill out the survey, and the data will be able to gauge if the orbs encourage students to think about their own resource use more. So after collecting this data, we will organize, discuss, analyze, and draw conclusions to see if the orbs are ready to be installed in the buildings. And then we will present our findings to Kendall at Oberlin. Right now, we are currently running the experiment and it's been running smoothly. And so, yeah.
Awesome. So at the end of this project, we'll have 3 outcomes. The first one will be that we have colors that students can easily interpret displayed on the orbs. Second one is that all of our materials on the website, on the poster, they all match that color scale that works best. The third one is that we have actual quantitative data on how often students scan the QR code. That will allow us, as Yabele said, to know how engaged they are with the content. And so we're collecting all this information because it will propel the new orbs into Oberlin College campus, and it'll confirm their accuracy and provide a foundation for future research. And so now we're going to welcome the next group, who will focus on the Cleveland area and ways to connect the community with environmental communications there.
Good afternoon, I'm Tobias,
And I'm Audrey.
and our project is titled Enhancing and Updating the Cleveland Environmental Dashboard Stories. We're working with the Great Lakes Science Center, an organization called Midtown Cleveland Incorporated, as well as the Environmental Dashboard Developer Community Hub. So to start, Audrey will provide background on the relevance of our project.
Yeah, so the Cleveland Environmental Dashboard was developed in 2018 by Oberlin College faculty and students as an interactive physical exhibit implemented at the Great Lakes Science Center. The Great Lakes Science Center's mission is specifically to make science, technology, engineering, and math come alive. The physical exhibit contains a story content screen, which combines real-time data and with narrative and visual content to communicate Cleveland area resource consumption and local environmental conditions. In 2021, a series of community dashboards was launched in partnership with Midtown Cleveland Incorporated, whose mission is to leverage Cleveland's diverse assets to develop a dynamic neighborhood that unites the city's downtown and innovation districts. The community dashboard consists of 5 screens located across the city and a webpage on Midtown Cleveland Incorporated. Midtown Cleveland itself sits at the intersection of a diverse network of neighborhoods made up of majority low-income and POC residents, businesses, and stakeholders. While the Great Lakes Science Center Cleveland Environmental Dashboard focuses on the environmental dimensions of sustainability, the Midtown Dashboard places higher emphasis on the social and economic dimensions of community development, sustainability, and resilience. While Midtown's website features real-time data on Cleveland air and water quality, there is no Cleveland Environmental Dashboard story content. Digital signage for the community dashboard also lacks Cleveland Environmental Dashboard content as well. Currently, the Great Lakes Science Center Cleveland Environmental Dashboard content is also in need of updates to enhance user engagement. Feedback from the environmental dashboard team shows that some graphics and terminology are confusing and could be improved to better convey the environmental dashboard's central message. This gap in environmental knowledge in Midtown, along with the need to update the current Great Lakes Science Center Cleveland Environmental Dashboard story content, now provides a unique opportunity to be able to apply the relevant and revised information from Great Lakes Science Center to Midtown's community dashboard, website, and digital signage. Through enhancing and supporting effective environmental communication in Great Lakes Science Center in Midtown, we hope to further ongoing efforts in developing a more sustainable and resilient Cleveland through engaging, educating, motivating, and empowering audiences to take environmental action.
Our desired outcomes include an updated and revised Great Lakes Science Center Cleveland Environmental Dashboard. And we plan on producing a more user-friendly interface in order to increase engagement among patrons and members of the Great Lakes Science Center community. We also hope to add a Cleveland Environmental Dashboard story to the Midtown Cleveland website. In doing so, we hope to have a greater and more remotely accessible reach to the greater Cleveland community. Finally, we hope to deepen environmental knowledge in Midtown residents to promote environmentally positive behaviors and build climate resilience. We hope that our project can increase interest in environmental issues and promote climate resilience through environmentally conscious behavior within the Midtown and Cleveland community. Our three-pronged approach is to leverage prior classes' feedback on story content slides, identify information from feedback in order to update current environmental dashboard slides, environmental messaging, and finally to generate updated content which will be applicable to both the Great Lakes Science Center and Midtown Cleveland Environmental Dashboard. Thus far, we have spent our time sifting through feedback from prior year's students on the story content slides, noting how they could be altered, along with noting what has been communicated effectively. All of this has been compiled into one master document that we plan on sharing with Madeline Fauber, who's the head of design and media at Community Hub. We plan on presenting this to her during the end of our project meeting, and she will then implement our suggestions. Thank you all for your time.
Let's give her a moment of breathe and maybe just reflect for a moment. I went to this wonderful conference at this former Catholic monastery in upstate New York. And after every set of presentations, it was a went actually several times, called the Garrison Institute. But they'd have us meditate before we had any discussion for like several minutes, just sitting there meditating. And you know, I'm a Quaker, so it's kind of a meditative religion, but I'm not actually much of a sort of like spiritualist, let's say, but I found it to be incredibly powerful to just have some moments to just sit in silence after presentations and just sort of think before everyone shared. So. Probably the best way to do this is to go from the first presentations and roll through, but actually maybe we could do this. Maybe we could do a really quick go around. You don't have to say anything, but if people have some larger overview comments about the presentation as a whole, maybe we do a quick round of those. And again, you can just pass. I kind of want to do this because I have some big overview points I'd like to make, but I want to let someone else start if there's someone who wants to. Yes, go ahead.
I think everyone should take note from Jasmine. She was so enthusiastic and sounded like so passionate, and I think every single other person needs to try and sound more like her.
Nice. Yeah.
Something I was wondering about is the order of the orb, like the display case presentation and the orb presentation, because something I noticed is there's like Nevin does that, you guys talk about the orbs but don't explain what the orbs are, and so to an audience who like has never heard of or seen the orbs, they are gonna be confused, and then, I don't know, it just seems a little weird to mention the orbs and then suddenly have a presentation about the orbs. So maybe they should be switched, or just you guys quickly explain what the orbs are in your presentation. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was my main thought.
You obviously want to respond then, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I think that would work, cause also, I don't know if there's like enough time in our presentation to like actually, so either we could say something like, and we'll incorporate resource use orbs, which the next group will talk a little bit more about, or we could just switch the presentations. I'm fine with either.
We'll keep rolling in this circle.
Yeah, this is similar to what Sadie said, but I'm just kind of getting the sense that like you've all talked about our projects like so many times that we sound a little bit like jaded with it, or like we've said this so many times that it like feels old to us. But yeah, I just kind of think we have to think about the perspective of someone who doesn't know what we're doing and just really lean into like why we think what we're doing is great.
We're gonna do a circle, so you'll get there, yes. You can pass, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess like, I'm just thinking about like still finding the balance between like being able to casually speak about it, like while still like using notes. I don't know. Yeah, I think, yeah, sorry.
That's fine, that's.
I noticed something that was very effective was like physical like gesticulation.
Who were you noticing that with?
Max did a great job of that. And I thought that was particularly effective.
Nice.
I think note cards are harming us more than they're helping us, because when I was like watching all the presentations with everyone who had note cards or like their computers, they were just most of the time looking down at them and reading script for script. And so it's like not really engaging with the audience. So I was like, there needs to really be like a better balance. Like note cards are supposed to be your crutch, not your entire like thing to use. And I feel like if we just like try not to use them as much, the presentations would go much better.
I'm gonna inject just a little bit of cutting people some slack in the sense of, my guess is people did a lot of revision and change and they haven't practiced as much as they, so I'm anticipating there will be less of that, but it's a good comment.
The three main things that were like great that stood out to me, I'm not like, this is not a pattern, actually it is. Like when, kind of, okay. When people had like really like simple and straight to the point, like either pictures or bullets. Josette and Nev did that like with their edited poster. I feel like you edited that from what you presented and it seemed really great and clear and engaging. And then Audrey and Tobias had the like the three-pronged approach I really liked. And I like to echo what Sadie said, like Josette, Billy and Max's intro was really great. Yeah. It's your turn. Good pass.
I give my pass.
For me, especially when you after the whole thing was over, you're just take a moment there. I was like, oh, and I realized it felt like with the whole presentation, it's like a freight train hit me because it's just like all this information at once. In the beginning, I was listening, and then I presented, and then at the end, I was also listening. But it just feel like a lot, kind of echoing what person who's sitting in Tobias's seat. We had the Elizabeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth echoed and how it's kind of like a lot all at once.
She was
all at once.
completely overwhelmed, yeah.
I'm gonna pass.
I think the last presentation really did a really great job at like syncing up the images that you're using to the bullet points that you're reviewing. Like I felt like it was very connected, and like I think honestly most of us just had the photos like sitting there and then revealed our slides, but I think you guys did that really well. And then I also loved the use of like I mean the slides like up there, so that's what I'm thinking about, but
like the bolded words like leverage, identify, and generate, and like that tells us like your main ideas, but then there's like more information there to like build off of, if that makes sense. Like I really like how you did that.
I think, just like, I don't know, I think people just need to be more comfortable with their scripts, that's all. And I feel like then it would come together more.
Yeah, we're, you guys.
We started to say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, you wanna do another round, okay.
Well, we don't have to
Go,
all
go,
say another
go.
thing, but I was just wanting to echo what Hannah said about the our note cards. And something that I've been thinking about and like have learned throughout this class doing all these practice presentations is like, it's a lot easier to speak if your note cards are kind of just like a bullet point reminder of your point and not actually like a written out sentence that you're trying to recreate. Because then, I don't know, personally, I get kind of tripped up in trying to just like read exactly what my script is instead of just like naturally speaking about it. So like, yeah, I don't know, for anybody who feels like they need note cards, what works well for me is just like a bullet point reminder of the point, and then it's all in our brains because we've been talking about this for an entire semester. So just like, yeah.
It's like, yeah, adding on to that point that Lily said, also, what's really great about slides is, most of the time they do provide that, like, those bullets of
Cue.
information, yeah, that cue, so it's like, all you really need is that cue of that short information and then just like kind of speak about it. Because I was like, if you're trying to like read a sentence off, it's just like, you just trip up way more than rather if you have this point and you kind of have an idea of where you're going just with the cue.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped, I was trying to write some stuff down because to those points that you guys were bringing up, I feel like what I had written for my personal script was not fully conversational, or as I was speaking, what I found myself naturally saying differed from what I had written. So I both rewrote my presentation, like my text a little bit to better reflect what I think comes naturally to me as I say, so I have an easier time remembering it. But also, I might give myself permission during the Good Morning Oberlin presentation to not adhere 100% to script as long as my thing gets across what it's supposed to get across.
Wow, I feel like there's like a lot of really good wisdom coming out in these comments. I hope you guys are taking it all in. I just feel like so many really, really excellent bits of feedback for people to take in. And I will just say, I mean, I get it that a lot of you are not that well practiced because you just modified your scripts a bunch, and so you're gonna be there on Thursday. So I totally get that. Hannah, to your point, I think you actually you nicely illustrated with your presentation. You had clearly got it completely.
Yeah, I didn't use note cards at all because I was like,
inside
this
you,
more.
and it just felt like I think for a lot of people, and this I think is where you're going, they couldn't really be in the moment with us because they were thinking too much about what they're doing. And I think that's one of the things that really makes a compelling presentation is when someone is with you. And I felt like several of you, and I just like Max, I felt you were like, I felt a lot of growth in your presentation in the sense that I think you finally really were not extemporaneous the way you've been most of the times before. You really had so internalized your script that you could actually be more in the moment than you are when you're being extemporaneous, if that makes sense. And I've used this quote before. It's a quote from Charlie Parker, who is a famous jazz saxophonist, also jazz saxophone teacher. I think I've used this quote before, where he talks about learning your instrument, learning the music, and then forgetting both. And I think that's what being in the moment is about, is you know what you're saying so well. And this is, I think, what Luke was just saying in his point when he was saying, I feel like if I know it well enough, I can actually be a little bit more extemporaneous. I think that's true when you really know it. You're not thinking of what you're going to say next. It's just you're in a flow. really, you know what I mean? You're just, you know what you just know where you are, and so you can shift the wording a little bit, you can sense the audience, you can be with the audience and move with the audience, you know, based on your sense of where they are with you. But that really requires that learning the instrument and learn the music before you get there. I feel like a lot of you are at different stages. I was thinking about like Tobias and Audrey, and I feel like I was listening to your presentation, I was feeling like, wow, you have really like word crafted this presentation. Like it was just a very slick presentation, but the flip side is that you hadn't really memorized it, so you weren't that comfortable with it. But it was actually, it was quite a beautiful and compelling presentation. But you know, it's just like where you are on the stage. You clearly put your time into thinking about, you know, the narrative, just like writing a good narrative, you know. But one thing I wanted to say about all of the presentations is, and this goes, I think, to the point that that Jane was making, that actually it's a point that that Max was making too. There's too damn much here, and we need to think about our audience. Maybe I'm not getting that right. Our audience is not interested in hearing about the entirety of everything we're doing in our project. And I think part of this is kind of a carryover from your proposals, where you did kind of need to say, this is everything we're planning on doing. I don't think you need to say that anymore. And I think it will actually be a little bit of work, but important work, to simplify your stories. Say less, just include a lot less content that you're including. We do not need to tell these people everything we're doing. And in fact, if we do tell them everything we're doing, we're just going to completely saturate them, which is Max's freight train analogy, which is, I think, totally right on. I think there's so much content I just had come at me that I'm totally overwhelmed. And honestly, if I'm going to a Good Morning Oberlin meeting, I don't want to be overwhelmed. I want to hear some cool stuff that people are doing. I don't need to hear all of the cool stuff that they're doing. I want to hear some of the cool stuff that they're doing. So I think every single group would benefit from taking stuff out. Just say less. Don't feel like you need to say everything. Just tell a good story about what you're doing. It doesn't need to be the complete story. It just needs to be a good story. And people will remember far more if you say less. Less is definitely more in this context. And again, for both of our next two audiences, so this is an investment in your final presentation to Kendall at Oberlin. They're a group of retired people, and they have told me, and they will tell me again as they tell me to prep for this, people should speak slowly. You know, we don't want to be overwhelmed. We want to be engaged. You know, like every time I communicate with people at Oberlin at Kendall, they always say, slow it down and say less. So I really think every single group should just cut from your presentation. Take stuff out. It doesn't need to all be there. All you need to do is say something about what you're doing that is compelling. You do not need to tell all of your story. It's too much. You guys all have ambitious projects. You're doing amazingly cool stuff. They don't want to hear about all of it, and they won't be able to retain it. They'll be completely saturated by the third talk and won't be able to listen to anyone else if you guys include all the content you've got in there. But excellent stuff. Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a quick go round on each one and get that out there. Again, we don't need to say everything about every one of these. Oops, I'm just not going too far up. So just think about things you really feel like you want to communicate, and again, don't feel like you need to make all your points. I can't find myself. Where the heck am I? All right. Anyone want to talk about the community voices one? Anyone want to start on this one? Oh, you want me to flip back and have it in the presentation? Okay. Let's see. do you mind doing that, Hannah, being our designated person? You want a chair or something? If you're so comfortable. Move over next to me and then you're still within porch length. Because that's gonna pop in a second, so. Anyone, and again, you can just pass, we don't need to have everyone saying stuff, but you have something you wanna say about this?
Yes, so this slide, I feel like even with the transitions to like move things into it, it's just too much on the slide. I feel like narrowing it down to what's important, like I don't know. Actually, it's probably important with the Good Morning Oberlin people, but like, do you need partner organizations? Like, do you even need a subtitle? Like, there's a lot of things in here where it's like, it's a lot. Visually, I'm looking here and I'm like, so I feel like finding a way to keep it with what's most important would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree, honestly, I think that the subtitle enhancing positive norms, like that subtitle, really identifies your goal, which I think you guys talk about later, and so I don't necessarily think that needs to be there. And then at the same time, like, if you have the partner organizations listed there, I don't think they need to be in photos twice. Like, I think choose one or the other. Like, you could just have like above those photos, like partner organizations, and like that'll give it a nice pop to like who you're partnering with, but I don't necessarily think that's what you're trying to emphasize here. I think what you're trying to emphasize here is that you're redeveloping this content or like creating new content, and I think that your photos can be adjusted, at least on this title slide, for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like the logos, but they kind of just take up too much of my attention. So I agree, like maybe one of the pictures where like people are standing and smiling in front of the screen or something like that.
Are you guys gonna be interviewing a bunch of other people from a bunch of other organizations as well? Or is it mostly, is it basically gonna be, it's gonna be
The ones
those?
that we're already like working in. Yeah, and it's like, I think Lily,
That's
did you
fine,
reach out to
that's
the
fine.
Bonner Center too?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the Bonner Center and they just like forwarded my email to all the Bonner scholars, like, said nobody's gonna, like, I don't know. We'll see.
That's fine, I was just saying if there were other ones, you know, putting them in smaller things along the bottom or something, but that.
Yeah, these are
those
the ones
they're far
we
so
like
too.
for sure are
fine
gonna
ones.
work with, like, we might add like one or two more, but yeah.
I'll make a comment, this is another general comment, although it's evident in this one. I definitely think people should be working more on their visuals, and I think you guys should in no way, shape, or form feel obliged to stick with my font or the style in the template. I just feel like own your presentation in terms of style, make it your own, because I feel like the generic style I provided you with is like repeating several times in this presentation, and it's definitely gets stale, so own it.
Are you, when you say that, do you also mean like, we don't have to have the challenge and
You
opportunity?
do not, you do not.
Okay.
You can own this presentation, tell the story you wanna tell, the way you wanna tell it. We're expanding your freedom here. Tell the story you wanna tell the way you wanna tell it. I mean, you know, try to cover that ground, but you don't need to cover that ground in those words or even in that order if you don't wanna do that. I feel like you almost did this, Lily, on this one of you know, taking the risk to start with something that is just totally different. Like, it almost felt like you were gonna start with a community voices slide, and I kind of wanted you to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I could feel you like trying to do it, but you didn't quite do it, and I feel like maybe just start with like a super compelling set of content.
Okay.
I'm just an idea, I mean, I don't quite know how you do it.
Start with that.
Yeah, like just starting with this and maybe a series of community and let the work stand for itself and then tell the story. It's just an idea. I just feel like people could and should experiment a little bit more. This course, I think, is maybe unique in Oberlin in the sense that this is about communication. You guys should experiment, take some risks in what you're doing to grab people's attention. Remember that sort of like, you know, comment I made early on. you wanna grab people's attention at the start. I felt like several of you did that just with your presence. I mean, obviously, people noted Jasmelia grabbing people's attention with her projection of it. I felt like Max in the same presentation, you did that as well. I feel like you guys grabbed hold of us at the start, just projection wise, but you can do it with visuals as well. It doesn't need to be, it can be with just a creative entry where people, you just grab people with something that's just really, really nabs them. I thought you guys did a nice job. I like the photo transitions. They were interesting, but not too much. They were like enough so that they were helpful, but not too much. Yeah. I mean, I think if everyone did that, it would be a little noisy, but it felt like you guys had your own little thing going on there, which sort of like made your presentation stand out from other ones. Like I say, if everyone did exactly what you did, it would be too much, but with you guys doing it, I thought it worked nicely.
There was one slide that you guys skipped, like one picture, was that on?
Yeah, this one, the creating compelling slides is, I think it was this bullet point that we didn't say anything about.
Okay, was that on purpose or?
No, I
Yeah,
think-
no, I wrote a note for myself to remember to mention that, I just like forgot to say it.
Yeah.
And also, okay, like this is very little, but capitalize the A in add.
Pay attention to like cropping and stuff. I feel like you've overcropped that one. You're almost slicing the bottom. I mean, it's just like subtle things, but I just feel like everyone should be paying a little bit more attention to like the visuals of your presentation and frankly, making them slicker. Like even on that first slide, like thinking about, you could do some interesting cropping, go to your intro slide, which again, maybe you're not gonna use. But like just doing some creative cropping on those with like rounded edges or something like that could just make it feel a little bit slicker. Again, not a huge thing. Thinking about borders on the edges of things, if you put some borders on there, they would just feel a little bit more like there's just something kind of stark about this first slide. I was gonna say like almost all of your slides did a really nice job of having students with community members in them, which I felt like really drove your message home. But you have one of Greg Jones with someone in there, which felt like it really stood out to me because it's like there's no student in here. That's like partly because you've done such a good job of the other ones. That one just felt like this one feels out of place to me because it's like just two community members. There's no.
Which one was that?
There's a Greg Jones one. There are two in there that I felt that way about, because like that one with like, that one's just it's so clearly like student community member engaging meaningfully, Is that one? I just felt like,
Oh yeah,
how does this
same,
connect?
same. Good
And-
interview.
Yeah, and there's one more, there's the Oberlin Community Services one I felt like was a less compelling photo of like everyone with the boxes or something. That one's beautiful. This one I just felt like, yeah, maybe it's cool in the sense that like students, I was trying to think about how I felt about this, and part of me was saying, maybe it's just interesting for people to see like spaces that they wouldn't see. Because that's kind of what it feels like. This is a space I wouldn't see, but also there's like no one looking at me, and I don't know, I don't know that there's students in there. It doesn't feel like maybe there are students in there, but I don't know, just those two sort of stood out to me a little bit. It's like, not as compelling to me. Anyone? Yes, go.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that photo. I think I agree with your point about like, doesn't necessarily feel like there's students in there, and I think that's pretty important when talking about this, but I think like the lack of engagement with the actual photographer, I think emphasizes, I think what you're trying to is that people are connecting with each other and like participating together, and like there's like someone's like pointing and then another person's like carrying a box.
I hear you.
But no,
I hear
not
you.
everyone feels engaged, so I get it, but I don't
Yeah,
hate
no,
that photo.
I hear you. I'd crop it differently maybe to get more of the people in there and less
Yeah,
of the background
Yeah.
space.
I was gonna say just that. I think zooming in on like the person holding the box and the person pointing.
Yeah.
would just make it feel more like a
Yeah.
little less empty.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be annoying, we have 40 more minutes and 5
Yep,
more presentations.
Yep, let's
Do
do
you
it.
want me to do an 8-minute stop us when we're done
Yeah,
with
do
8
that.
minutes?
That
Yeah.
would be great. You keep us on task there, Sammy. You do. Good. All right. Sammy's moving us on. We're on our next group now.
Which, actually, could you, I've been making a couple of edits to this, based on people's feedback already. Could you, okay, yeah, that works. Great. Yes, something that people were saying was that with this one, there wasn't a lot of, explanation of the graphs, which I can both make a point to talk about more at the beginning, Sadie, as well as, have those titles now on there. Like, do people think that that works with what they were trying to address with that feedback?
I think the titles make it more confusing. I think it makes it look too clunky. I think I commented on like the use of the photographs in this slide, and I just think like before you show these photos, you should say, we're talking about data visualization, and then these photos come up. Because before you just had opportunities and challenges with no bullet points in these photos, and it really, I think, took away from paying attention to you and what you were trying to say, because I was trying to make sense of these photos that I was looking at on the screen. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like maybe, I feel like just like kind of acknowledging the photos and doing like a quick explanation of what they're representing. Like just like pointing at them and just like doing a quick and then going into your points would be very beneficial.
Okay, X out for 1 second, so I'll just try something. Yeah, if you could go back to the start.
You just refresh. If you click refresh, it'll just, reload.
Yeah, okay.
I think maybe you guys should just take note of these ideas and then talk as
Yeah,
partners
I agree.
later on.
This is a nice intro slide, I'll say that, because it really does have the kids connecting with the data in a way that communicates, I think. I do like people's suggestion on that next slide. I think you could fade from, we've got those graphics of the buildings, but I think partly the message that you're trying to communicate is we're trying to help students relate data to reality. And if you just have the data visualizations without the reality immediately associated with them, it's just like the kind of abstraction that in some ways your lesson engaging activities are designed to overcome, if that makes sense. That was a complex thing I just said, but hopefully that made sense. Does that make sense what I just said? Maybe you don't nod if you don't think so. Okay, yeah, I just feel like it's a big abstraction, those graphs, without having the physical objects there. And I think having both of those graphs up at the same time is also just too much.
Yeah, maybe do like.
You could do one, you could do like like that graphic of the high school and the high school one, and then flip to a graphic of the elementary school and different visualization. Having them both up at once, it's like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed, I think these photos are great in terms of communicating your message, especially that one in the middle, because it is about the right age group, I think. Actually, both of those I think are very, very effective. Anyone else?
You guys did a great job explaining like the resource assignment based on our feedback last time. And like explaining what was happening in the beginning, so I appreciated that.
I'm kind of thinking, and you can blame me for this, but I don't know if the signatures is that interpretable. So I think, don't feel like you have to be wedded to the word signatures in there, because I think most people are like, there's like, you need to know a bunch of stuff to understand why the hell signatures in the title. You know what I mean? So I think you should feel okay about unloading it. I think I'm talking about like the intro title. I think there's something about adapting the resource use signatures assignment. I just feel like you'd have to explain at some level how a pattern of resource use is like a signature, and I'm not sure it's worth doing it. Am I making sense in that comment? I'm just saying, you probably felt obliged to me to keep it in there, and I'm just saying, don't feel obliged to me to keep that in there, you know? Sam, I think you made us all like more parsimonious in our comments here, we're moving.
We have 3 more minutes for this one if we need.
No,
Anything
people have anything else to say, we move on.
Oh, maybe that you guys are actually doing, you guys just completed, by the time you present this, you guys will have just completed the lesson. And so that would also be cool to have in there. Right?
That's in limbo currently.
Well, they did just complete, a presentation this morning, so I think it's still true. I don't think the technicality of whether you're completely done makes any difference to this audience whatsoever. So.
Honestly, similar to the first like content slide, I feel like maybe like the graphics, like you could switch these out too. Or just like use the bottom one to kind of like show, what exactly like an example of an assignment they might work on or something, because I just feel like it's just like a lot of information. Plus it's like so small too, it's hard to really like comprehend what's going on with the total electricity use.
Yeah, I think trying to pack 2 different things into one slide is, I think is the truth of every presentation, it's too much. You just need to be evocative of what you're doing. You don't need to be comprehensive in what you're doing. I think you just need a couple data slides. You don't need more than a couple. Maybe one with the squirrel, just because I think a lot of the community members know the squirrel. It's probably a good entry point. And then into the more complex one. So I would think about starting more with the squirrel and then going into sort of like the more abstract ones. But I don't think you need to talk about everything you did. Like the energy, the sort of like kilowatt thing, it's cool. I'm not sure it's worth talking about. It's just too much. Something needs to go.
I really like this title slide. I think it's simple. I think the photo is very relevant and engaging and has all the little characters that we love. So I really like this title slide.
There's that one section, I think it's like right after the title slide, for some you're going, yeah, it's like where you have that like, kind of like or like procession, I don't know, of like what the stories could look like. I really like that because I like how you show the variety. If you have time, maybe just spend like a second longer because they're very detailed. And like we've seen these so many times, but if you haven't seen them, it's a lot of detail to take in. Yeah, and it's just like if you really, so I think you could make this section even better by just like having like a 5-second pause.
Yeah, adding on to what Sadie said, I definitely felt like you went through like these slides like a little quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So like, yeah, just a little bit slower so we can like digest what's going on the slide while also like paying attention to like explaining like what exactly this is.
Also maybe like not using the fade in feature because then it does take a little bit more time to get on each slide and just doing appear. So it's just right on there and then you can save time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's not a bad fade, but it's a slow fade.
Yeah.
And then you're shooting through the slides.
Yeah, or you can make the fade faster. I was like, cause you can edit like the times that it takes too, but.
Can you go back to the first slide?
Yeah.
I have to just very strongly agree with the point that I think probably of all the presentations, this is by far to me, the most compelling intro slide, just because it's not noisy. I feel like the other ones are noisier. Again, I feel like, dump the font and choose a font that you guys like, because it feels too much like the other ones. But in terms of like the image, it's just like so clear, it so clearly sets you guys up so nicely for what you're going to talk about. On the next one, I feel like you definitely want to communicate there's like physical signs and there's a touchpad. but I kind of feel like if I've seen it a few times, I'd rather see screenshots of the content within the presentation than seeing that many pictures of a TV screen. It's like, cause like especially with the stuff around the edge of it, that's really noisy. Like I wouldn't have both of these. I'd have like maybe the one on the right, which has the touch screen in it. And you actually had a really nice series of ones where you were sort of showing people engaged. And I think you guys did a particularly good job of really timing a lot of what you were saying to specific content that was in here. And I thought that was like enormously effective, where you were carrying me along because the images were very tightly coupled. At least for most of your presentations, from what I remember, you were very tightly coupled with what you were saying. And it was such a cue for me as a viewer to have that like really reinforced. It really reinforced what you were saying. But I see too many damn screens with like noise around the edge. I just feel like give me a screenshot of the content if you're gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of screens. Like that one's really good because it gives you a sense of like the scope of like there's a poster around it and stuff, and then there's a standing thing. But you have some specific ones with people engaging, which I really like too. I think you have people like touching the screen or something. That I felt was really nicely cued. Yeah, this one I felt was like particularly good at communicating what you were doing and what people were doing.
Yeah, I just realized these images are repeated because you have them right here and then you do it like image by image.
That's intentional, when I'm explaining how they can access the specific topics, but yeah, probably maybe different images.
Yeah, and just like, so it will help you that you like, so you feel like you don't have to speed through the slides too, if you just like maybe cut down on some of the images, so you feel like you can just like talk more so people can really like gauge like what's on the slide.
I think you guys did go further over the time limit than anyone else, just saying. Too much content, way too much content. Nice content, too much.
Yeah, I feel like the questions, like that little sub bullet point, you could just take out and just like kind of remember to say it. Cause I was like, yeah, I feel like a lot of them don't need the sub bullet points, cause then that just like adds a lot of noise to the slide.
I definitely think that there should be pictures here. This might be a good place for you to cut down on time, because you can put one of the pictures that you just previously had as a standalone onto desired outcomes, and then if you go to progress and approaches. Definitely another picture there, and then also make the text bigger, because either add more pictures or make the text bigger, because there's so much space right now and there's so much you could do with that.
Alternatively, you could also center it in the PowerPoint if you really want to just have those points be very clear, because I do feel like it does have a lot less noise, because even the bullets are a little bit long, it still has a lot less noise because of everything else going on. So.
And then like John mentioned, we don't even necessarily need to have like the specific desired outcomes, approaches and progress. So maybe if we don't think of it that much like that, it might just like make some of these look better if you just like talk about what you want to talk about.
You guys are free, you're free.
Can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
What is that information on the bottom?
Oh, that's because we didn't finish the slide.
It kind of looked like that.
Yeah, I figured everyone could tell.
Yeah, I was thinking you guys just weren't done. It's okay, you know. You will do.
Any other comments, or do you want to move on?
Yes, photo, less text, smaller title.
Yeah.
But also this title is kind of crazy, that it goes over one word.
Repeat that?
The title that it goes over one word is kind of also kind of like.
Oh, yeah.
That is really.
What if we centered it? Would that make it better? Like where it says center? if we
No.
centered it? No, okay.
Think about visual presentation. It just, like, again, this is true of like most of the presentations. I just feel like there's just way too much noise that comes from like things not being off center. And it's just, I just find, and again, I'm not trying to single you guys out. I'm saying this is true about all these presentations. Think about clean visual presentation with a lot less noise. It's just like, I don't know where to look in the, I mean, I love the photo. I think the photo's like super clear in defining what you're gonna talk about and situating us, helping us understand. So I think the photo communicates tons. I just feel like the sort of spatial arrangement of the rest of it, slightly different font sizes on the left than the right. It's just like, it just feels like incredibly noisy to me.
You want us to keep the photo, you like the
I
photo?
love the photo. I think it does a really nice job of saying we're starting with this. Yeah, no, I think it's like, cause then you go into like, this is what it could be, you know. But it situates people, you know, it's like, this is a display case, you know, and we're gonna change it up.
This is weird, I almost don't like, if you go back, I almost don't like, it seems kind of dreary. Like, maybe change the background color of the title slide. It's supposed to be, oh, cause it's the old one.
Make it
True.
But you're talking about the background of the, you're talking about the color of the slide, or you're talking about the display case?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes, the
okay.
color of this display,
yeah.
of the slide.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, cause you land on ones that are beautifully colorful, and maybe that's part of your plan is to go from the drab to the colorful, but
No, I agree, thank you.
Oh,
You
Do
can get
we-
progressively brighter.
do we all just wanna have a different background color for our slides?
you guys can do that. Yeah, you're free to do a different background. Just make sure you don't change it globally. Just change it in your slideshow, but you can create whatever you want in your own backgrounds.
A good rule of thumb for backgrounds and presentations is you wanna typically have them darker while your text is lighter. Because like if you have like a white background
Oh,
and
yeah.
black
Don't
text,
do that.
usually it just doesn't work out that well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
This might be off, but I'm wondering like, what if you like really blew up the image to take up most of the screen and then have like bubbles in like blank parts of the image to put in the collaborators and partner organizations?
It's an interesting idea. You guys should definitely think about it. I think that's the kind of creative, you know, whether it works or not, I don't know, but it's worth trying, you know? You know, you could have, I don't know, you could use some of the call outs of the squirrel or the fish if you felt like it. I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying, you know, it's a thing.
Yeah, this slide, this one specifically to me seems a little like empty, cause like this image is, both of the images honestly are really small, so I was like,
And that one's pixelating pretty.
yeah,
pretty-
so maybe
pretty
find a
majorly
cleaner
on top.
image. And then like if it's a similar size, you can move it to the bottom and then blow this up more and just like fill space more.
Where's that image from? Because you could probably find something in the presentations that you could screenshot and get a nice crisp.
I don't remember where I got that from.
It looks like a photo that's been enlarged a whole lot, but I'm saying if you just expanded any of the content and like the story presentations and took screenshots of what you want, you could get a good crisp image. And maybe what you're trying to communicate in that bottom one is, this is not effective. Is that what you're basically trying to do with that? Is like, this isn't working.
Yeah, but it still needs to be blown up a little bit, although.
Yeah,
we
because
don't have-
it's too small to even know it's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
real.
I love the bottom right photo.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I feel like even having that in the display case could be cool. Like, it's just a really cool photo. You guys can see the corner of Dascom. And kind of easy to recognize it if you've been an Oberlin College student. Now, these people that we're presenting to are, but as a student who would see the display case, you might be like, oh, I know where that is. Oh, wow, look, that's under there, cool.
Yeah, I think like maybe contextualizing just like where exactly like the piping is and just like, yeah, this is like right under, this has just gotten done, like really help engage people into this like.
Yeah, it does such a nice job of connecting
Yeah.
what's in the display case, although,
Yeah.
and I know exactly why you're doing this, but I feel like you wanna reverse them, because you're going, like, I know you had more space on the right, and you wanted to blow it up. But I just feel like you're going from the physical reality of what happened into the display case, and I just feel like you read left to right. I feel like that's a kind of anal retentive comment, but I just feel like it's true, you know? And you could even do an arrow, like going from the piping into the display case. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do a straight arrow, just like a curved arrow going, so it's like we're taking it from the ground and we're putting it in the display case, you know?
That would definitely compete with the text if we did that, but if you guys had chose to do that, but also you could also consider, do you really need text? Like, to make these points, you could also just point out things with images.
Yeah.
I feel like having text and having what Mr. Peterson mentioned would be too much, is what I'm saying.
Like the bullet points?
Well, how they are now, yeah.
I think for a lot of these things, other people have made this point, but you might be able to get away with like single words. Or I think it was Audrey and Tobias who were like bolding words. But you could like, if the first bullet point was engage students instead of like all the other stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like just these much fewer words.
Yeah, that's kind of what Lily and I did, like really just.
Yeah,
And then we
parse it
explain what
down.
exactly engaged students means.
Right, and then it's like you were saying, it's just a cue up there for you. You know what you're gonna say, but you don't need to both say something and have a lot of words on the screen saying the same thing. It's like the audience is gonna get the cue and you can say a full sentence and you've got just 2 words, or you've got 2 or 3 words up there on the screen.
Again, I feel like there's too much going on with it, like there's 3 images, but then that image is like super tiny. And I was like, if you wanna like kind of highlight what's going on in it,
Yeah.
you'd have to make it bigger, cause like. Just like sitting back there, you're like, what is this like really supposed to mean, what are those numbers, cause you can't read even the little titles above the numbers, like.
Let's say a possible solution to that could be like having each image, if you want to display all the images, you could have each image be like full size, just to the right of the text, and then just have it switch in with each bullet. So you have three images and 3 bullets, and so if they each correlate, they don't actually look like they correlate, but if you had images like correlate.
If they did, yeah. I really like that, and I feel like having them in about the same place, and you know, I realize some are more landscapey and some are more portraity, but having them like in the same place so that you're, it's just, it's again, it's just like, and I say this about every single presentation, it's messy and again, not trying to rag on you guys, but it's messy, it's noisy, it's distracting. Like the bullets, like you know, maybe I am like obsessive compulsive about this, but the use of space, and again, it's not just you guys, it's everyone. The use of space just feels like really inconsistent. Like I've got a lot of space above the title, the photo goes above where the title is. The image on the bottom is really small, the bullets are to the left of the title on the top. Those things, like, I just find those really distracting. They pull me away from your message. Like the cleaner your visuals are, the easier it is to pay attention to you. I find myself distracted by, again, it's not just your presentation, I'm finding myself like super distracted by just inconsistencies and like trying to figure out where's my eye supposed to go. Because the bullets are to the left of the title, am I supposed to read the bullets first? Because they're actually reading left to right, they're actually first. And then there's the title, which is like in this weird space zone up there. And then the photos above that space zone. It's just like too much for me. I'm going apoplectic here.
Yeah, and with the photos all being on this slide, it like is really bothering me that they're all different sizes. They're like different types of like photos, like more rectangular, more square. I'm like, there's too much.
And this is true of a lot of presentations, so this is not singling you guys out. We're just sitting on this slide right now.
Let's go ahead and move to the next one.
Can I ask a quick question though? So
These are so clean,
Yeah.
they're so in contrast to everything else in your presentation, they're just beautiful and clean.
Yeah, so I've been like, our script, we've been doing like a lot of editing and like cutting down and like, so I know like noticed some comments saying like it's wordy and stuff, and it was even wordier before, I feel like. So we're really trying to like cut down and kind of like, yeah, just like really get at the heart of our message. Also, like I saw some comments about explaining like what the SIP is and like explaining like, I just don't know how we should, like, if we really have time to do that, or like if we can assume that these community members kind of know what that is.
Well, don't Sammy and Jane go before you, so they should know
Yeah.
what SIP is.
We actually, I don't like the idea of like bringing that into our
You don't
presentation.
use the word at all.
No, yeah, I think it's hard to
Yeah.
explain in our 5-minute time frame
Yeah.
to people who are not aware.
Yeah, I feel like the acronym SIP should be just jettisoned. It's, yeah, I don't think we should use that acronym. I think, you know, carbon neutral initiatives, whatever kind of like, that's, anyone's gonna get that.
Okay, so we shouldn't say SIP.
I don't think you should feel obliged to say SIP. I think the acronym SIP is too complicated because you have to explain it and you have to expect people to remember it, and there's been so much complexity in all the talks. I just think expecting people to pick up an acronym, I don't think community members know what SIP is.
Okay.
I think they know that Oberlin tore out all the trees and they claim that it's for environmental purposes. I think that's like the level that we're dealing with here, you know? So you're like talking about, yeah, there's really good stuff going on and we want to talk about this is important.
This is a nice presentation. I was like, I like how you guys changed the colors, like from my feedback, cause that, like, that's, I was like, I'd like to see them on the org too, but yeah, I really appreciate this, and definitely, there's more distinguished between the, you know, light blue and then that org.
I was wondering, are you guys gonna have it all with you?
No, the Wi-Fi wouldn't work
We were
there.
planning to do like make a GIF,
Yeah,
and then it will have like, be like a 5-second thing that we just play over and over again, you know, just like show all the colors and stuff.
I think that's a great idea. Jane, you wanna say something
I
now?
think it would be really cool. This is really like inconsequential, but there's like this annoying border.
Yeah.
yeah,
Super annoying.
Driving me
I'm 100%
crazy.
with you.
And I wrote this in the document, but I think it would be a good idea for Max to stand on the other side because you were like pointing to all this stuff and you
across the
could like reach
text,
across, yeah.
gotcha. I can also just move the text in the image.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, cool, thank you, I realized that.
Yeah, that color change was
So-
totally based on your feedback.
How would you guys feel about if, like, for this slide, this is just, I'm testing with waters for this for the first time. How do you guys feel if I just, instead of having like, maybe just had like a poster and then the GIF and just explained how it works and just said, we've updated technology to make it look like this, and then we need to test it. Versus describing, oh, it was 2007, we made it, and like, I can just say, we changed the orb now, and now it looks like this. We need to see if it works for students.
Yeah.
That is, message be that simple.
Yeah, personally, I think that would be good, cause I was like, I don't think they need like the whole story, you know, about, you know, the works, and that just like might help you with time and everything, and.
I like Jasmilia's vehemence about only Oberlin has orbs. I just, that's still in my brain. You really like shocked me with that.
I almost think that you should put the GIF on a separate slide. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could, honestly, and this is another way you could grab people's attention.
Just start
You
with it.
could just start the whole thing with a GIF of the orb and then have like the orb fade in as your title, you know, because people would be so sucked into that. You know what I'm saying?
I can try.
Low key.
Here,
I think it would be too complicated to either explain this graphic and then also explain the orb colors on a GIF. I think it'd be one or the other. So you can have the orb just fade in.
I'm thinking you'll just like suck people in if you just have like the orb like going into these, you know, a GIF, people will be like, wow, you know, what the hell is this, and have it come in. And then you'll have them and you can like do what you want with them.
So a fade in of the orb or the.
I'm thinking the GIF is there and then you have your title, it's in black. It's a real true black background. and the orb's in the middle and it's sort of pulsing and doing its thing.
I could do this.
And
I
then
could
you
do
have
this, I
like
could
the
do this, I could do
title
this.
of the orb fade in and you just let that sort of sink into people. And then Jasmali comes in with the punch of her like piercing, you know, sort of like, I'm gonna grab your attention. I will say, critique of myself, that blue on the Go Blue for Water is the blue we nuked, I think, and that's irritating me.
Oh, you're so right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's the one we nuked.
It is.
Also, something I realized, this is kind of irrelevant, but I'll say it.
Okay.
Oh, that image is super grainy.
I feel like actually, if you did a GIF, and I realize, you know, you don't have one on a wall, though you could take over, well, actually, that would be a little complicated. But I like the, go back to that photo for a second. What I like about this one, and I think you probably have the ones with the hands on, there's some good photos out there of the orb. But if you had a GIF with it, like with some like dorm, this is like a wide aperture type photo where you've got like the thing is in focus and the background is not, but the background here speaks a little bit to dorm, and I think if you did your GIF with like what's clearly like a dorm lounge or something in the background, so that when you were, getting that, you got that subliminal like communication, this is in someone's, you know, living space, and it's communicating information about the living space. Lily likes the idea anyway.
I do like it.
I was also
Trying to
thinking
think of
cool
what
graphic, a cool graphic that could fit in this presentation is, I know I'm in Keep right now, and the orb is displayed not super centrally, but it is a very prominent spot in the common area. You have the common area, it's at the corner, but it's at the corner that's like the intersection to like the thoroughfare for everything.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we had a photo of the common area, which is a nice common area. You just have an orb there and be like, boom, and you'd be like, this is the orb.
I want like a group of people faded in the background or just sort of like hanging out in lounge chairs or something, so you get a sense this is in someone's living
Take it during
space.
dinner.
You know, you can just set it up, just have some people, just set up some friends out there, you know, you need 3 or 4 people, that's all you need, or 2 or 3 people who are in like the background, like just hanging out in the lounge or something, and you've got it's on the orb, but you see people in the background, so you're communicating this is in someone's living space, you know?
This is super nitpicky, but it's fun.
Oh, I know you notice it exactly.
There's a space right here and then, cause it looks like it's a hyphen that, oh, it's supposed to be like one word, like what?
I'm really, whatever font I'm using here, I'm really sorry I used it, because I'm really, really sick of this font.
Well, I think it's because we've been seeing it so much over the past few weeks, so
Also,
we're done with it.
These students understanding orb colors is not direct grammar.
Yeah.
And then just like in general, I feel like the question format, I don't know, I feel like it's not necessarily like, I feel like not necessarily saying like your approach.
You could just call it questions instead of approach.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
would be
and then,
good.
and then it's, because I like the questions, but I agree that grammatically approach with questions seems a little odd. But why not just get rid of the approach and just put questions?
And in between, if I, like the poster, cause I know you guys are like saying like this is what the poster looks like, but then it's like the posters, you don't
Totally
really, yeah,
unreadable.
there's so much, it's unreadable, there's so
I
much
think
text
you could
on
have the poster on the wall next to an orb if you're gonna show
Yeah.
it, so that you can see it in situ, because like your whole purpose is, there's some information that explains this thing, but we're not actually wanting you to read it.
Max
you
also
know.
has a picture of the setup we used for the experiment, would that be more?
Yeah,
helpful?
that could be really cool at communicating. You know, you could take that as a different approach where you have, you know, Max and an interviewee, and then you're doing a GIF of the 2 of them. I mean, it would just be a different angle on how you could approach that. I mean, you're obviously gonna be like Oberlin students. And you know, even if that was, I mean, you know, frankly, the ESIC, are you doing all of it in ESIC?
Yeah.
That's got kind of a loungy feel to it with like a dormy feel to it with like the couch in the background or something. You know, it's got like that living roomy space feel to it. And if you had you interviewing someone with an orb, you see it's the orb, but the 2 of you are interacting with each other kind of behind the orb, but like it's of the orb changing colors, that could be really compelling too. Because then you'd be both communicating, this is in someone's living space, and we did research on this that involved interviews with people. You know, you'd be communicating all of that with them.
And this is a good time to move to the last
Okay.
presentation.
Thank you. Sammy, what a smooth transition here.
Dun, dun, dun. A lot of stuff also on this slide.
I
But
like
also
the
it's
rounded
big.
edges on that stuff. I feel like community hub should be the same width as the other, the same, just make it a little bit bigger so that they're all the same size.
And then going off of Max's like comment about like, instead of just like having the partner, like just use the images to like show the partner organizations instead of like the text and the images. Cause then the images just really.
They're redundant, yeah.
Low key, I like the image on the right, it has a lot of color, has a lot of stuff going on, but I feel like it doesn't have a clear subject. And so when I look at that photo, I kind of just look around and I kind of don't really get much from the image.
It's a cropping thing.
I was gonna say, I
think
think
you
you
could
just
just
crop the left a little bit.
Yeah, cause there's like no central.
Yeah, maybe
focus right
centering
now.
the screen more.
Or having a human being in there interacting with it would do quite a bit.
Or also, you can also not have the photo, because you have images at the bottom that explain the partners, so I think it also could work with that image for this one.
Wait, could I just like center the square image more, or,
Center the screen, you mean?
wait, which image are we talking about?
The one on the
Yeah,
right,
that, the
Yeah.
image on the right.
If I just moved it a little left, would that feel better?
well, like, it's actually like the image content, like in the
I
image.
think maybe just crop the left so it kind of starts like after the like pole.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get rid
I
of
do leave the city skyline in there, it gets a little
Yeah.
narrow that way, but I feel like that city skyline's kind of
Yeah.
important to what's
Yeah, you
being
could just crop it
communicated
and
there.
make it-
Or just find like a photo like what John said of like someone interacting in
Yeah.
this room.
Yeah, I mean, we have there, I mean, you guys can poke me more too, we have a lot of photos of that. Small point, but I love the rounded edges on the stuff down here, I kind of feel like I want the rounded edges on the darn photo, I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I am feeling that way.
Yeah, cause I mean, cause now these are.
You know, you
like
can just
shrubs, yeah.
crop to shape, you know, when you get your crop tool, you can crop to shape and it'll do that.
Oh, I really like this.
Oh, wait, they're animated?
Yeah, I love it.
Honestly,
Wait,
I
why
think
did
maybe
this
just
happen?
get rid of this first image and just start out with this.
Low-key, yeah.
Because
But the
I
other
like
one
it.
is like so, it gives you a sense of the place, the other one, this one feels like, of course, I like the gifts,
first one's
but
more like the
it's.
intro.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be situated in like, where is this? And I feel like you get that.
So maybe we could have this.
I mean, I almost feel like with the previous one, and I could definitely share presentations that have this. I kind of wanna see the Great Lakes Science Center Museum, so I have like that situation, and there is a way that I like to do that, which is you can as a background behind this what is that? It's if you click on the right of the photo and do effects, you can mess with the translucence and fade it, and so that it's like mostly black, but it's like communicating, like there's a big wind turbine, it's just got like such a nice architectural shape to it. Yeah, right, you could put that on top, but even you could just do the image alone, yeah. You mean like labeling what they, like putting the names underneath them, is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah, yeah. I like those fade ins. Again, I feel like, and maybe this is the darn file I gave you guys, but you guys have exactly the same bullets to the left of the title there thing going on. Oops. Yeah. Oh, that was the one we did that. I like the switching here. That's really nice. That's slick. That's kind of what we were talking about with the other I forget whose presentation, but had more of an effect like that. Where the photos in the same place and you're swapping out big photos instead of having like a whole bunch of photos at the same time. I can't remember whose it was. It may have been several. Yeah, this is really slick. Yeah, and they're centered so beautifully. You guys really did like put some time into the aesthetic here, although again, the bullets being to the left of the title is bothersome, but yeah, yeah, right. So it's additive as opposed to a lot of noise at once. And they're so nicely centered that yeah. Yeah. You know that is Maddie, right? Because I felt like you knew that was Maddie and you were intentionally, yes. Oh, you didn't? That's Maddie, because you were talking about Maddie when you were presenting this, and that's her on the right. I thought you knew, because it sounded like it was intentional.
Yeah, I actually thought that, I was like, oh, that's happy.
It is actually, yeah. 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 We are officially done, for those who need to roll. Oh, yeah, my God, yeah, right, we're meeting in, you guys know where the public library is, right? When you go into the yeah, you do, right, yes. When you go in the door of the public library, there's a common space right past the bathrooms on your right before you actually get fully into the library. We're in that common space. It's a big, yeah, that's it. It's a big space with a big screen. So it's gonna feel like a big space, just to get yourself ready. And there's a big podium. And we're gonna need to sort of like be lined up next to the podium, ready to basically swap out as people do their presentation. Actually, I think we can probably be seated, but I think what we're gonna want is the group that goes next is gonna get up and subtly get themselves in position to swap when one group goes so that we don't have downtime. Is that making sense what I'm saying? Because there's like a wall and you'll be able to like subtly be against that wall and then there'll be presenters there. And then when they pull out, you'll be able to walk in and be here. And then the next group can kind of get themselves in line, if that's making sense. So it's kind of like a circle we'll be doing, but you guys can be seated. We'll take the line of tables that's most adjacent to it, so that not everyone's standing up the whole time, but we'll have to sort of move in like that, yeah.
Are we starting right at 8 on the dot?
We need to be there, we definitely need to be there before 8. I don't think we're gonna be up first, but we need to be totally ready to go. We can't be wandering in at 8. Yeah, we definitely should. Oh, Audrey, I'm happy to meet with you. And by the way, I just wanted you to see this before you go. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Kids in the background there, and there's a big screen. It's pretty subtle, but and you can choose your level of density on that. Obviously, you got to be careful about the text sticking out, but like it's that kind of thing where you just sort of put it in the background like that. Yeah, totally go. Yeah.
Presentation in terms of
like doing the computer, but
I think it's a mic. So I think you kind of need to be in position anyway, right in front of the laptop. And you're not going to be able to see the screen because the screen is behind you. So you are more or less like you're over here, more or less. You were presenting from over here. So you have to imagine the screen's there. You could potentially have people on either side of the screen, but it's a big screen. And I think more likely, Max, you're gonna end up next to the person. You're at a podium. Like, I think you guys are gonna be next to each other at a podium. Because I think they're gonna want it mic'd. And so I don't know that you can do your opposite side of the screen thing. I'm just not sure that's a thing.
I can point.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just so you know, so you're prepped.
How long are we gonna be there from 8 a.m.?
I teach a class at 9.
Okay.
It goes on a little bit after that, but you know,
Yeah,
people are, you know.
yeah, because I know Max, Jane, Audrey, and I all have environmental communities at 9:30, so.
Well, I teach a class at 9.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Thanks for that.
yeah. All right, cool. Luke, I will let you know.